Okay, so let's get right to it. Uh,
Okay.
First things first, dating. Today's dating climate is tough. Uh, Men and women are struggling,
Absolutely.
right? I hear it all the time. Men and women. I hear a lot of women say men don't know how to talk, don't know how to date, don't know how to approach, right? They don't carry themselves as men. I've heard it all. I've heard men say that. So where should we start? Should we start at hello, chemistry?
Mhm.
What does it look like to begin the process of loving someone?
All right. So let's take a step back because love really starts with self-love. And that comes from the examples of love that you've seen in your life and those people around you, because we are creatures of habit and we mimic behaviors that we see. And so the behaviors that you've seen in your past, and I'm talking about your long, deep past, so often in our childhood is what we begin to mirror as adults, because those are our deepest roots and those are the areas that we challenge the least. And so, because we never challenged those ideas about upbringing and what we've seen in our childhood, we've accepted it as adults as is at face value. And so, part of our journey in relationships is really recognizing that there are some things that we have to learn and there's some behaviors that we have to unlearn in order to go into healthy relationships. So, with that thought in mind, stepping back, um, there's some things, and I can use myself as an example. I was a 70s and 80s baby. And so for me, music and the romance of music and the idea of romance was very strong during that time. And so the music reflected a lot of that, a lot of what you should expect, a lot of what love looks like, what it's supposed to feel like. And we lived through that, through the music, a lot of us. And so, with that in mind, one of the things that I had to understand as an adult and when I started dating was that my ideas were based on a lot of the influence of the music of that time of my upbringing. So that's one pathway. The other is that what was embraced in my household. So my family, my mother and my father were both together in my upbringing. So I got to see the romantic side of relationships, the marriage relationship. And so, in my mind, an ideal love relationship was one of marriage and commitment to one person. And so, that kind of laid the foundation for what I would think, what I was searching for. And so, part of that also was this fantasy that I had about um, having one person that I would meet who would have all of these wonderful qualities, and he would be the one that I would spend the rest of my life with. And so, to share with you that I have been married uh, 3 times. My third marriage is the one that got the benefit of all of my life lessons, got the benefit of the wisdom that I was seeking, where I was in my maturity and where I am in my faith. That this marriage that I'm in right now has been an amazing journey, unlike any relationship that I've had in my past. And so, but back to my first marriage, I was actually just out of college. He's someone I had dated throughout college, and I had expected that as we made the commitment of marriage, that it was going to last forever. That was my expectation because that's what I knew. That's what all the movies said. That's what all the music said. That's what I saw with my parents. And of course, some of the things that you don't see are the things that happen behind the scenes. That the music is actually written by people who may or may not be feeling those emotions, or who may be creating a story for the sake of creating a story, not for the sake of having an experience. And so, and then you have, around you in your network, you have people who are typically your peers, who are your age, who are telling you things that from their own experience and not from a point of wisdom. And so we get a lot of those ideas from our environment, from the people around us, from our peers, and again, for the things that influence us. So if you're heavily influenced by music or you heavily influenced by media, those things can have an impact on how you see your relationships and what's a healthy relationship to you. The part of dating that leads to a more mature partner are the things that you learn about yourself along the journey. It's most important that you first love yourself before you start to extend that love or that hope for love to someone else, because you can be greatly misguided by emotions over wisdom and logic and over we are people of passion as well. So we could mistake passion or lust for love. And there are a lot of those relationships that come together under the passion or the lust in those moments, or based on what we see. And because we're also visual creatures, men more than women are visual creatures, so we go by what we see. And the expectation of something looking attractive to you feels like what's going to come behind that attraction in terms of behaviors and love and support is going to look and feel like what you see and are attracted to, which is a level of immaturity in relationships. And if you're still looking for relationships based on what you see alone, that's a level of immaturity. It's just something that we need to address and get the right tools to grow into and out of. And so once you recognize that, wow, it's not enough that somebody looks really attractive to me, because in the next instant, when their attitude or the behaviors start to shift, they can look like a bag of apples to you. But if their personality and their attitude is directly in contradiction to what you need, they can become the most unattractive person to you. And that decline takes no time at all to happen. Once you see somebody for who you believe they are, based on what you had a preconceived idea of before, it can spiral completely out of control, and it's a crash and burn. And then your attitude towards them also will change. The less amount of expectations that they have is detrimental to where you go in your relationship. I'm sorry, I think you're on mute. Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was on
Okay.
mute. Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry for that. So let me ask you this question, right? In a relationship, right? When we're talking relationships, about from one relationship to the next relationship, right? Sometimes we make choices because we're coming out a previous relationship, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the carryover love, right? So I can jump right into the next relationship and pretend that I love this next person, right? Because that's a way of masking how I don't love myself.
And well, actually, that's part of it, of course. But the other part of that is that what you feel or what you felt and you want to continue to feel, you transfer over to that next relationship. And so if you don't give yourself a chance to heal, especially if that relationship had was a sexual relationship, because there's a different level of relationship when you actually come together with someone, when you're intimately and sexually involved with someone. There is a joining of the spirit in that way. So part of the reason why those breakups are so painful is that that part that you gave to that person and that part that they gave to you are still connected. And that's why a lot of people may even go back into relationships. And a friend of mine coined that phrase, the spiritual tear. And that's when you have had the type of relationship, and it could be long term, it could be short term too. But once you make that physical connection with somebody, You literally connected. You are one. You have become one. And the point of pulling that relationship apart and that person apart from you is a tear, and it's a painful one. So if that relationship was in a marriage, if that relationship was in a long-term commitment, then the tear is even deeper and more painful. And so part of that process is healing. There's a healing that needs to take place in between relationships. Otherwise, you're really just transferring a lot of the feelings and emotions because you don't want to go through the practice or the process of being pulled apart. It's painful. So you're trying to find the fastest way to eliminate the pain as possible. And sometimes you may not even like the person that you come together with next. You just don't want to feel the loneliness. You just don't want to feel the tear.
You don't want to go through the work. And in that process, when you have to go through that work, and so understanding that, um, I'm glad you cited the spiritual tear, right? So in going through that work, because a lot of times we don't understand that, right? So in having to go through that work, when it comes to love, right? You can be in a relationship, in a marriage, right? And you can almost begin to sever, right? Until you, because of the environment. So, and you can't, it's not so easy, right? Everyone wants it to be easy. We want these relationships to be easy. We have these ideas about the what's that? The grandeur word, the illusion of grandeur, or however you say that, right? We
Mm-hmm.
we have those things, and you see, it was me. So I'm gonna take me, right? So for me, I was getting into relationships for reasons, right? And so those reasons led to seasons. And so here I was, I'm getting into this relationship because this person was this way, or because I was broken, right? So I didn't have no guidance, the proper guidance, because everything was about player, 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 this, that, and the other, so I got good at that part, but the part of loving someone for the way they needed to be loved, I wasn't so good at. Give us a take on what should be the steps, the very first step once you start dating a person. You're a week into dating. What should that look like? A week into dating, not a month. I've been dating this person for a week.
Mm-hmm.
How should I be conducting myself to build a relationship, not to jump in a relationship, but to build it?
Well, the key component is communication. You really need to be able to communicate. Listen, when people say, I am such and such, take them at their word. Don't make the excuse for them and brush it off as something that's not serious, right? So if they say, I jump in and out of relationships all the time, okay, well, you might want to listen to that. You might want to listen to somebody that says, I get bored with people so often, but I'm not bored with you. Really? What makes you different? And so, and I'm not saying that you may not, you may be, stimulating to that person. But if they're telling you this is my truth, then listen to it. And then as you grow in that relationship or you grow in those steps of getting to know someone, actually listen, because we don't really listen. We listen to what we want to hear, and we are more concerned about what they do for us, what they can give us typically, than listening to what the real facts are, or what are they really saying. If they say, I'm trying to stop smoking, and you don't like being with the smoker, that's something to consider. If they say, well, I like to have, a couple of drinks a week, or I like to do this when I go out, take them at their word. Listen to that and consider that in relationship to the other things, because what happens is 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and somebody is blowing smoke in your face or coming in smelling like marijuana and you don't like that, now you're upset and you're angry at them. But the blame is not exactly on them, it's on both of you. Because if they know that you felt that way and they're continuing to smoke around you or bringing you into that environment, then both of you have responsibility to that particular issue, that somebody wasn't listening or somebody didn't take it seriously enough. So the first step is to listen. Communicate what your real needs are and listen to what their real needs are. So I would say that would be the first thing in the first week. And most people tend to listen, but what I'm saying is to listen with intention. Listen for their truth. And then you build from there. Because it's a lot easier after a week to say, we may have these things in common. I'm really attracted to you, but this is not the direction of the relationship that I want to go into. Or I'm not willing to sacrifice. I don't like smoke, so I can't deal with somebody that's smoking. Even if you're trying to quit, I may not be able to deal with that long term if you decide that you don't want to quit. So those are things to consider in terms of your relationship. Take people for who they are, not who we want them to be, but who they actually are. There's a time where the potential of who somebody can become is important, but at the start of that relationship, that's not exactly what we need to be looking at. You need to be looking at who they are right now, not only what they have the potential to become.
Okay, awesome. I really like that. Right. So now we're a month in.
Okay.
We've been intimate, right? We're a month
Hmm.
in. We've been intimate,
Is
and
it good?
it has to be
Well, no, it doesn't. It
right.
could be
No,
a work in progress.
it could be a work in progress, but
It could be a work in progress. Okay.
you could say,
A month
"Oh
in.
yeah," you like, okay, I could work with this, right? Let's keep
Okay.
right because it's all about improving, right? Because
Right.
love doesn't happen overnight, and it's all about improving. We're a month in, and you I'm getting there, and so a month in, I recognize that I'm really starting to get some feelings about you.
Okay.
What should our level of communication question wise be? How many questions? What should we be talking about a month into a relationship? Right, we're headed toward. We're talking 1 month to 3 months. What should our questions be around? What should we be asking and talking about? Once again, in building a relationship, not
Okay.
jumping into a relationship.
Okay. So one important factor in this process is to be honest about your status. So if you're talking or dating or you're exclusive or you're still seeing other people, it's important to communicate that to that person, because honesty at the beginning and trust at the beginning of relationship, any type of relationship, is paramount. And so that has to be the priority. So if you're not really ready to settle down or you're not ready to be exclusive with one person, you must be clear that that's expressed to the person that you're seeing or dating. And then distinguish your idea of what dating is. You need to be clear with each other. Dating to me is, that's one of the questions or one of the statements that you need to make. And then ask, what does dating mean to you? And so if you need to get at least 5 clarifying points on what dating means to that person. And you need to be able to share 5 clarifying points to what dating means to you. And so that's a really important distinction to make when you're talking about being with somebody after a month. You need to talk about what uh, what expectations are. So do you like talking on the phone? Do you prefer seeing each other in person? How frequent that visit might be? Um, do you expect to have? Are you expecting flowers? Are you expecting somebody to walk to your door to meet you, or do they just get to blow the horn and you come out? What are those kind of expectations around dating and around building something special? What you have to share those things. And I think for women, a lot of times we keep a lot of that in our head because we have our mental checklist that we're checking off for the person that we're interested in. Yep, he has this, he has that, and we're not necessarily communicating those deeper things that we beyond what we see, right? Okay, he's got a nice body, he's cute, his finances look like they're in order. I mean, those are a mental checklist, but that list is based on your level of security that you really need. So your level of trust, those things, I mean, even though those checklists may seem a bit superficial for some people, those are real. Those are real. It's important for you that you're attracted to the person that you're with. There's nothing wrong with that. That's still about safety, trust, and the longevity of your relationship. It shouldn't be the only thing that's important, though. Your sex life shouldn't be the only thing that's important, though. Even though you've shared this experience and this chemistry and it's awesome, that shouldn't be the only thing you check off on that checklist. If that's the only thing you checked off on that checklist, you need to be clear that this may not be a relationship of substance. It's a relationship that's physical. And then you also need to consider that what your position is on birth control, protection, because I think some of the issues about sexually transmitted diseases around casual relationships have been brushed under the table. Those things still exist. They're ready and able to jump on any given person at any given time. A lot of people are more free with oral sex with people they're just getting involved with. Yep, you can still get a STD from oral sex. You can still get a STD from having anal sex. You can still get STDs when you have sexual contact with someone. And you're thinking about the passion in those moments and, oh, this was so great, this was so good, but there are consequences to coming together with someone. One, unprotected. One, in the mindset of only lust and passion as opposed to safety and security, because those are trust issues as well. So you need to question if somebody is willing to put themselves out there like that without the proper protection. If they can get talked into a casual affair with someone, there may be some underlying issues that you need to consider. For men, women get pregnant through one night stands all the time. You're cute, you look financially secure, it could be another type of checklist for you. So if I get pregnant, I know he's going to take care of our baby, right? That's her assumption. Or if I get pregnant, maybe I can keep him. That might be an assumption. And I'm not saying by any means that that all men and women are like that, but the reality is that exists. And so we have to be mindful that the questions that we are asking in those first 3 months have to be related to those things. You need to look at people's behaviors and see if they're modeling the type of behavior that you really want and need long term in a person.
Well, you better most definitely check, because even that third thing, they might just be there for your seed and don't want you to be a father too. With that being said, we keep moving. So now we're headed toward, and remember, we're talking love. So now we done got 1 to 3 months. We're building this beautiful relationship toward love. We got a nice understanding. There's some rhythm physically, the whole nine. Now we're headed to month 6. We're headed to month 6, and we're moving gradually, right? And one of the partners decide everything is just right, and I'm going to tell you that I love you, right?
Okay.
Right? And so in that process, then what is your response if you're not there yet?
Well, I think that before either partner expresses love as the sentiment, that they really have to have some level of definition of what love really is for them. And I think that a lot of us haven't really put the time into understanding what love really is. So, or have a guideline for that. So personally, and when I work with my clients, there are 3 resources that I ask them to use. One, whether you believe in the Bible or not, I ask you to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And everybody's pretty familiar with that. Love is patient, love is kind. What that particular verse does, or that chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13.
My words is foreplay all day, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And so, it's important to do things to keep her, as 2 men say, wet or dry. It just depends, right? It depends on, what you choose, right? And your actions, right? When there are some things in there about men being masculine, like you say, being a hero, things like that. Let's move to the area for which how a woman wants a man versus, right, a not so much of a man, because women they can be with somebody. I've seen this play out a bunch of times. They can be with one person and a man as well, and they can see what they really value, look for, want in another person, and completely lose sight that they actually have some person next to them. And I think that plays out in the type of people that you are, right? What kind of person
Mhm.
are you? Are you,
Mhm.
like you were talking about earlier? Are you honest, right? Are you this, or are you always looking? If you are always looking, that means it has something to do with you. That's
And
you.
so let me share that most women uh, find it difficult to find all that they want and need in one man. And so typically what happens is in a woman's space, in her mind, she's not trying to be a player. She's trying to piece together the pieces of the man that she wants, and it happens to be in different men. So if this man is stable and he has a job, and this man is family oriented, and this man is strong intimately, and this man is fun and has a sense of humor, she's actually attracted to all of these things. And if she could push all those men in one body, she would do that. But because none of them may have all of those qualities or the majority of those qualities, she's trying to piece a man together. And we typically do that out of desperation, out of the lack of available resources in terms of men. And we may not, because this person he may have a great job, he may be nice to me, but I'm just not attracted to him. I'm not physically attracted to him. There's nothing that I can do to pour ice or water over it to make it that way for me. But I still like him. He's stable. And if I had to pick safety and security, I would probably pick him. But then that would open the door for me to find someone who I am attracted to, right? It will always leave that door open because I'll still have that door where I'll need to feel attracted to somebody and them attracted to me. So it's multiple qualities that we're looking for in a mate. We want all of those things, and you really don't want to settle. But if the selection of men may not be as such in your environment you have met yet, that satisfies all that. Where you get trouble as a woman is that you don't tell them that. You're seeing four different people, you're intimate with all four of them, but you don't tell them that, you have them thinking that they're the only one. I only do this for you. I only do this with you, and you're not being honest. So that's where we fall short. That's where we get caught up, and we get a reputation for being something that we're really not. We're really trying to love one man. We just are having a hard time finding one man with those qualities.
Well, I'm a defend the brothers, and me too, right?
Uh-huh.
We're trying to find that one woman in all those women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Are you?
let me have this moment. I think so. I think we, right.
Okay.
She might be
I'll take a
tall,
drink while you do that.
right? She might be tall and thick. She might be tall, thick, and funny. She might be short, sassy, cool, right? Right, and she might be of a different nationality with long hair, and you know, and we don't tell them all, right? So that takes us back to us being honest with ourselves.
Absolutely.
right? These things,
And knowing yourself and
and
knowing
knowing
yourself.
yourself, right?
Mhm.
Those things put up walls. Along comes someone who doesn't have the patience to go through all those walls, to really get to who you really are, right? That, some people might have a different plan and can get through those walls, but right, it's so many of them. And so that's why we have to get to the place where we are really honest with ourselves, right? Having that conversation with yourself in order to love yourself better so you can be free in your honesty. I think, excuse me, I think that's ultimately how we really find love. Now, I mean, you could take it from there, but for me, I think if once, like you said, you can be honest with yourself, love yourself better, and then you can be honest and love yourself better, and you don't have no traffic. So you don't have four different energies, and I don't have five different energies that I'm dabbing in, right? So I'm not distracted. When I pull back, love myself better, and clear the path, I believe that's when we have the opportunity to find true love. Some of us pull back with unnecessary expectations. I'm gonna pull back, right? But I'm gonna still have my foot in this one little door because dude, he hung like a horse and he good. Like, so I'm gonna keep my foot in his door because he make that boy pop. But I'm not gonna tell nobody, include myself, that that's just something that's just over there, and vice versa. She got an awesome hit on her. She really good at what she do, and we got this understanding, right? And what we fail to realize is all those little things prevents us from really getting to true love, because you can't have energy spread out when it needs to be in one direction to love someone. I had to learn that. So tell us, give us some tools, because I think this is going really well, right? Give us some tools. We got a good 15 minutes. Give us some tools, right? Because a lot of us men, fathers, boyfriends, long-term relationships, have gotten complacent, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, we have.
We
Hmm.
have gotten complacent, and sometimes we don't, because of life and everything that takes place, we kind of push those things in front and kind of push the love back, when love should be up front so you can receive the type of care that you need in a relationship to make yourself or your home or your life peaceful. When a man comes through the door, it should be peace, shouldn't be animosity, and vice versa. When you come home, it shouldn't be animosity, it should be peace. So give us some tools. This would it be in part one? Give us some tools, and so we can really move some men in these last 15 minutes of something that they can do to improve their relationship today.
Today, get a hobby. Find something that you love to do and do that for you. Do that for you at least once a week and make it a physical activity. Because one, once you get involved in more physical activities, your libido increases. You may be more attracted to the woman that you're with. And believe me, she wants to feel attractive, especially if you've been together for a long time and things have gotten very, very routine. Okay, sex night is Friday between 6 and 8 because the game comes on at 9, and I gotta have, I got my book club at 5, and so all the things that we've become comfortable in. She needs to have a hobby and doing something that she loves to do, and you need to have a hobby and do something that you want to do. Let it be swimming, playing tennis, playing golf, go for a run, ride your bike, do something physical. The physical outlet is very important to you. You may work hard all day. You may not feel like being physical. You may just want to chill in your chair in front of the TV. That's not sexy to her. You come in the door sweaty, smelling like a man that's doing something, you're going to turn her on, because there's a part of us innately that's built in, that the more you have physical activity, their pheromones, that we get to experience. Now, same sex, that's why men are so competitive when they're in close contact and they're involved in sports and things like that. For you, it works. For men and men, it works against itself. Like now you're really in high competition. The more those pheromones, you're really in high competition with each other. But when you get around women, they they innately, that part of us that's made for that, we will respond to that physical activity because it releases those pheromones, also increases your testosterone. So if your sex drive has been lowered, the more you get involved in these activities, the more attractive you're going to be, and the more you're going to be able to carry out the acts of that attraction. So that's one tool that you can do right now. Get started because it's only going to help you in the process. Another tool that you can use is get your copy of 100 Ways, because you need to have things in your toolbox that you can reach into and do right now. So you don't have to really think about it. There's some things that have a little bit of planning to them, but trust me, you need to start doing something now, because if you've been in a long-term relationship, you're probably in the process of regaining her love. Now she loves you. You guys have a family together. You built this life together, but you don't know who each other, you don't know who that person is anymore. The person that you were attracted to may not have the same body that you fell in love with, and you may not have the same body that she fell in love with. So what are the ways that you can increase that attraction? Get into her head, get into her need, help lessen and lighten her load. The more you do that, the more attractive you look to her. So I would say start on those things right away. Um, Another thing that you can do right now is figure out what you can do for your home. Figure out what you can set up as a getaway. How can you two just spend time together, especially if you have kids, especially if you have all these responsibilities and you're working or you're running a business? You need to find time for just you. And I mean, you need to try to find a day where the two of you can spend that day together. If it's a weekend, you need to start putting that into works right now. And I know, we're in the middle of this crisis, or toward the end of this crisis, and things are opening up, but you have to really be creative. Find a way to spend that time with her. Find a way to do that. So I would just say to start there.
Okay, so that was that. I guess that was a good area. I'll throw my little 2 cents in, right? So about loving her, I think vice versa. When he comes home, you should be ready. You should look like something. You should smell good. You should have the house looking a certain way because a home is his castle. Vice versa for him, I believe I like the point that you talk about the exercise. I think that's good. Also, I think we need to understand how sexy reading is. I don't know how many men even understand a woman watching you read is very, very attractive because that means you're doing something to improve yourself. So get her book, you know, don't hesitate about it. You know what I mean? Really go get that book. It's on Amazon. It doesn't cost you much. I think it's like $7.99 or something like that. If you got Prime, it's like $5, right? That investment, right, is a start to improve your relationship and loving her better so she can love you better. Next week, we'll get into part two and we'll get deeper into, I know y'all want to talk about sex because everybody love to talk about sex. Doing it in the park, doing it after dark. Oh, yeah, right? So next week in part two, we'll get in depth a little more about, how we can be better. One of the things I tell men that's over 50, get that, I'm taking them testosterone tablets. I can't think of the name right now.